Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Business Bites. My name is Henry. I am here from the Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce. I am delighted to be joined by one of our patron members today, Flowbird Limited, specifically Jason, who will be delivering this session today on how you can scale your business without employing more people. So it should be a really interesting one. If you do have any questions at all throughout the session, please put these into the chat and we will address this once we have completed the presentation. So that's enough from me. I am now going to pass you over to Jason. So feel free to take away, Jason.
Hello everybody. As Henry said, my name is Jason Rainbird, Managing Director of Flowbird. We're a patron of the Chamber of Commerce. We're also we're a national-based company, been here for 10 plus years. So off we go. Team of, how many are we now? 17, 18 of us. And obviously, as you'll get by what we're going to talk about today, we've got no intentions of employing any more people. So we will crack on as we go. Okay. So today's presentation is literally how to scale your business without employing more people, as you can see. And the idea really is that we're very aware of obviously the legislative changes that are happening. We're very aware that obviously we don't know what we're doing. And so what we do as a company is we introduce automation into businesses, all right? And that's kind of where we're coming at this from. So we know that obviously, as I said before, the legislation that's changing is now becoming costly, it's becoming expensive, and with things like the new NI regulations that are coming in, people are looking how do we scale our business without necessarily recruiting more people. All right, and that's what we're going to kind of look at to go through. Some of the things that we need to consider, the business grows, everybody wants to grow. I'm assuming everybody here wants to grow their business. That obviously introduces sort of complexity, obviously introduces budget things and time consuming as well. So we've got to think about how, as a company, can we grow as part of that process off the back of those constraints, and we would go through that. Okay, right. Some of the opportunities that we've got with automation. Now, it's interesting when we start to get into the details of this. Of the number of things that we can automate as a team. And one of the things that I always say to with customers in particular, if there's things that you're doing repetitively, have a think about whether they can be done. Have a think about whether they can be automated. Have a think about whether we can overcome some of the problems. So things like speed is obviously an important thing. So can we speed up that process from something happening in the business to getting it done quicker? Can we reduce the number of error messages or the errors that happen as part of the automation process, right? Is it more cost effective to have an automation process in place rather than employing someone to do manually? There's a little balance between the two things. Obviously, if it's a task that you do, once a year, it's slightly more complicated, then at that time, it's probably not worth looking at automation. It's easier to sort of get somebody to do it. But if you're starting to do tasks or workflows, processes 3, 4, 5 times a day, and they're very critical and they're very important, then you start to think, well, okay, can we automate this as part of the process? Can I take away the labor from somebody and get them to do more meaningful jobs? One of the things that we worked out with another client of ours is that they were spending days building reports, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. And by obviously building this into the system, they could automate the whole process, and then the lady in question actually got time to analyze the reports because they were being built. So we're going to look at those as part of that process. So we're going to look at 3 key areas and sort of give you some ideas. As I said to you before, we can sit down and we can go through hundreds of different areas we want, but we're going to concentrate on 3 particular ones that seem to be quite popular at the moment, and we'll have a look to see whether they work for us, all right? So the first one we've got is customer onboarding. Now, obviously, as you know, customers will come in all sorts of forms. You get with someone filling in a form, you'll get someone placing an order online, you'll get somebody basically turning up at the office. Whatever it is, whenever you're automating onboarding process, there's normally an automation process that you're going through. It could be sending out welcome emails. It could be adding them into your accounting system. It could be updating your CRM system. It could be updating a third-party platform. It could be asking for more information as part of that onboarding process. And so a lot of companies, this is quite a manual process. I worked with a client a few years ago now, and they had 11 pieces of paper for onboarding a new client and taking a new order. And they used to literally take the information, copy it from one sheet to the next, and all the way through the process. And obviously, when we talked about automating that, that was single single piece of information at the beginning that flowed all the way through. But likewise, even when you've onboarded them, there is ongoing work around that whole process. So we talk about onboarding a new customer, but we might have an existing customer. And so what we can do off the back of that is we can take a new order, we can update different parts of the system, whatever that is, which is probably very manual. So a lot of companies we work with will have things like job boards, or they have job cards, and they're running around with little bits of paper. Okay, this is a massive one in terms of onboarding new clients, because it can streamline the whole process. It overcomes the checklist, it overcomes the check problems off the back of that. So have to think now of what you've got in terms of the way that you're doing what you're doing today, and how manual that process is. And it's really interesting to say, well, you know, it's easy for us. I've got somebody who spends all morning every week onboarding new clients. Can that be automated? Can we give a better service back to clients off the back of that? All right. So that's kind of an example one for you. Okay. Example two is lead management. Really simple. You've got inquiries coming in from whatever source that may be. They may be filling in a form. They may be turning up at an event. You know, you may be turning up at one of the events that the Kent Chamber sort out, and you've got an inquiry, you've got a lead. Okay, so how are you now managing that inquiry? Are they being followed up consistently? There's a really important rule that's called the primacy rule. So as soon as you get somebody into the system, how you treat that person in the first instance is usually a memory of how they will look after you long term. So some of the things that we've got is things like, obviously, an inquiry is coming in. Does that need to be routed through a process to decide who's the best person to talk that? Once you've got that, are you sure that it's actually being followed up? It's estimated that something like 40 to 50% of leads are never followed up. So if you're looking at your own internal sales, how do you grow your sales team, or how do you grow your sales rather, without necessarily growing your sales? And we look at the ways in which we can pull those through. The end result is that you're going to know where your leads are going to come from. You're going to know that they're going to be looked after. But also the most important thing is that you're going to know what the results are off the back of that. And that could be reporting, it could be higher conversion rates, it could be better lead source management. And so just having that ability to follow it all the way through. Now, a lot of CRM systems out there, we work with a number of CRM systems, but there's also taking that lead all the way through, as we said, to the customer onboarding, and thinking about, okay, now that we've got the lead, how do we drive that through as part of that process, right? Really, really important part of the whole gamut of what we're trying to do off the back here, all right? If we go through to the next, then we'll look at streamline reporting. Big thing for a lot of companies today. We just had a conversation with a client. They've got 100,000 records in their database, but they're really not sure the quality of the data. And so one of the things that we're looking at is to automate those bits of information back into dashboards, back into the systems. So what they're able to do off the back of that is they're able to report on what the leads are, what the quality leads are, what the industry is that they're working with, and start to work through how we automate these processes. Now, all three of these are really good examples that we pulled through of where, at the moment, a lot of these are probably manually produced, all right? Or you're now thinking about, okay, I need to employ someone to, okay, onboard new clients, or I need to onboard someone to produce reports for me. And what we're able to do with the automation process is basically map those out and start the process of automating those. So you turn up on a Monday morning and your reports are produced, your clients are on board, or your new customers are onboarded, all your leads have been followed up, whether that's automatic or manual, all of your salespeople have been followed up as well. So these are three very, very simple examples of the automation process, all right, that we would go through. Key benefits. Okay, so the first thing obviously is, as we talked about, is reducing the operating costs. Cost of employing someone we know is expensive. We would look at kind of the roles that these people are doing. We look at the repetitive tasks they're doing, or the important levels of tasks they're doing, and say, can that person that you've currently got employed be better resourced? I'm not here advocating that we basically, let go people, but people, are doing sometimes very, very manual tasks that they don't really need to be doing. And that could be, say, working with your accounting system like Xero or Sage, pushing that through into your operation system or your ERP system, pushing that through into your CRM system, generating management reports. All these things are very, very manual, all right? And we look at individuals and say, okay, what can we do off the back of that? Increased efficiency and accuracy. For example, if a client is, ticks the box to say they want to go ahead with you, how quickly does that turn around? How quickly can you get that moving forwards, like sending out welcome on board emails, sending out invoicing information, sending out operational stuff, project management side of it. So once again, we can increase the efficiency and accuracy, because once the automations are built, we can then overcome some of these problems, right? Next one, obviously got better, can't tilt now, better, faster customer experience. So once again, we're responding much quicker. So this could be a simple thing where an email comes in and it's maybe a request for more information. Rather than you waiting in someone's inbox, we're automating a response. We're getting more information. We're following up on that much, much quicker. Or at the end of a job, you tick a box and a workflow goes out which says, how did we do? This could be a customer service experience. This could be a sort of a net promoter type information where you're saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well did we do? At the moment, that could be very manual. That could probably not happen. The one thing that we're also quite big on with the customer experience one is things like referrals. Okay, so you've now done a job, you've now introduced a piece of work. Are you automating the referral process? Are you going out to that person as soon as they've bought or as soon as they've had delivered and asking for feedback? Taking that out of the hands of the sales team or the customer service team, passing that back through, process for the customers is much quicker and much faster. All right. Next one is reporting, as we mentioned a little bit. So improving the accuracy of your reports, improving the efficiency of your reports. So rather than you kind of sitting there churning through data, you come in on a Monday morning and the reports there that you've needed. So it's collected data from multiple different sources. It's pulled it together into one particular place, and it's giving you that intelligence that you need to grow to the next stage. Once again, all of these elements are things that are probably being done by a human being if you're doing them at all. So there's two major benefits. So it gives you the ability to scale the business, but not necessarily by employing more people, right? A lot of these things can be much more cost effective than employing one person, 2 people, 3 people. It enables you to scale the business without having any of these costs associated with that, right? And suddenly you can reduce those back into the system. So some of the things that may come up. So obviously some of the concerns that it will work, for example, will it work with our systems? Okay, so a lot of our platforms integrate with thousands of different platforms out there. And so generally we can connect into most of the information, the platforms that you've got going. We can pull that data out, we can manipulate that data, and we can push that into the problem, all right? We'll lose the human touch is obviously quite an interesting one. We were working with a client recently that were taking information in the terms of requests. They were passing that through an AI tool. They were examining the responses, and then they were actually deciding whether that should go back to a human, what we call the human in the loop, or whether that could be handled automatically off the system. So the human still very much is involved in this process. But a lot of times, things are happening that the customer from there, they're getting response. One of the things that we're really keen on around is, how do you overcome buyer remorse? How do you instantly feedback to say to someone, look, thanks for your order. Here's the details. Here's all the people you need to contact. Here's the human beings that you need to talk to in the team, without the human being sitting there go, I've got another 5 emails to send out to new people, right? And so we can look to automate that process, but still at the point, I'm a massive believer in there are points in your sales process or in your customer service process where you still need to pick the phone up. So we're not taking away the human touch at all. We're still including that absolutely where it's necessary, all right? Okay, next one we've got is too complicated. My internal processes are far too complicated for you to automate. A lot of the things that we've got, very simple, are pre-built templates. And so what that means is we can sit with you, we can work through some of those processes, and boom, we can apply a template, right? And the last one that we've got there as an example is what we call security. Okay, is my data safe if it's passing through a third-party system? We've got all the appropriate encryptions and compliances depending on what you need. So basically your data is very safe and stored very safely off the back. All right. So if you have any of those concerns, obviously you can voice them as part of that process here. Okay. Taking the first steps, we're a massive believer in starting out small. We work with clients where we'll take one process that they've got, we'll look at it, we'll map out that workflow for you, and we'll build it in, and we'll leave it running until you're ready to go to the next stage. And so what we can do is say, for example, it could be onboarding a new client. Very simple process. We take the client off the CRM or the customer service system. We build that out, we build an email out, we map out the process, boom, and then you gradually grow. And we're looking for those, what I call those quick wins for you. So, very repetitive tasks, things that you're doing on a regular basis, things that we can tick off. So it doesn't have to be a kind of like massive big bang process. It can be very small, it can be very iterative, and it can help you grow gradually as you get more and more confidence in where you're going off the back of it, right? So just think of the things that are bogging your team down, and they're the things that we kind of need to consider, right? Right. Basic conclusion. Okay, so scaling your business, it doesn't have to be expensive. Doesn't mean that and it definitely means that you don't need to hire more staff. That's the key thing with it. It just means working harder. There's an analogy out there at the moment that says that we won't be replaced by AI, but we'll be replaced by people that do use AI, and that's a really, really important part of the process, right? The automation, as we say, starts off very small, and we can substantially reduce costs off the back of that. So if you're looking at your costs and you want to grow, but you're thinking you don't want to employ, this is the benefit of that. And then the systems we have, very competitive, very agile, very flexible. We can scale from one-man band, two-man bands, or one-woman shows, I think was the phrase that came up yesterday, all the way through to multinationals. So the size of the company doesn't matter. What is important is that you can automate a process that's going to help you scale your business off the back of what you've got in the system, right? So that's kind of my presentation. Click on the last slide. So that's Flowbird. I don't know whether, Henry, I'll pass it back to you for any questions and anything that you've got, what we've got coming through.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jason, for that presentation. Really informative and lots to think about when it comes to automation. Obviously, there's loads and loads out there that can be automated. It's just about, I suppose, finding the right thing to start with is always a big one. So, yeah, does anybody have any questions at all? Feel free to just unmute and ask away. We didn't have any in the chat throughout the session, but is there any questions at all? Anyone got anything they'd like to ask? Now is your time.
Okay.
No, I'm going to take that as no. It means you've covered everything off, Jason.
No, it's fine. If anyone's interested, what we do have is we have a list of about 50 standard automations that people can look over and go, actually, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. And I think that's a really good aid memoir to what people want to do. We can send that over to you if you let us know what that is, all right?
We've actually had a couple of questions come through, Jason. So, Terry, I didn't know if you wanted to unmute and ask away. If not, I'm happy to ask for you. Is Terry right?
Hi. Hello. Yeah, so I just popped in there. It might be a tricky one to answer, but I just wondered how much it would cost and if you offer consultancy sessions to kind of rake through the business and see like what you'd recommend to do.
Yeah, no problems at all. We're more than happy to sort of sit and chat with you about some of the things that you're doing. There's no cost to that. We basically, at the point that between us, we decide that there is a process that we can do. Then at that point, obviously, we can talk about costing that up. As I said at the beginning, we're really keen with lots of people to sort of test the water. So it can be a really low cost effective process. It could be a couple of £100. You could have a process automated running, and you go, okay, now I understand it works. And then after that, you'd be like, Jason, I need to spend more money with you because I can save so much long term. And that's what we're after. So more than happy to jump on a call and talk to you about your processes and mapping them out with you. All right.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'd love to do that if we can. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Terry. And Richard Nagy had a question as well that you put in the chat. Would you like to unmute and ask?
Yeah, certainly. I was just wondering whether it's every system has to be done at the same time, or can it be done piecemeal? I mean, it depends on the systems within a business, I presume, but it's just whether...
Absolutely. It can absolutely... I'll give you a really, really simple example. So let's say that we are integrating with, say, Xero and your CRM system. So what we get quite a lot is that we want copies of the invoices that we're manually producing. I want to see them inside the CRM system so the salespeople can be aware of that. That's a single process that runs on a regular basis, nothing else. Okay. What then happens is the client comes back and says, well, now I need to do this when this happens. And so we're scaling it out like a network. And so you can literally come on each month, each week, and just tag on the next bit, the next bit, the next bit, and just build on top of it as you go. We got processes that start off with two 2 phases, and now there are thousands of steps within the process.
Okay, oh, brilliant. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Richard. If we don't have any further questions, then we will end the session slightly early and let you all get to your lunch. Chris and Louise, I appreciate you joined a little bit late. This session has been recorded, so this will be sent out to all of you on the back of the event anyway, once it's all edited and uploaded. So you will also have access to that as well, just to let you know. But yeah, if we didn't have any further points at all, I would just like to thank you all ever so much for coming along and spending your time out of your day to learn a bit more about automation. Obviously, massive thank you to Jason from Flowbird for giving the session today. And yeah, I hope you all have a really great rest of your day. Take care.